UX research, career advice, webinar. Is UX research right for you? Because a lot of people are not sure, because you're going to commit a lot of time to something and you want to know whether it's worth it, whether the amount of time and effort you're going to put in, and money possibly. Is it worth all that hard work, or should I just scrap this and look for something else? And that's your decision. That'll be your call. The next thing we're going to cover is, what is user experience research? What is it? What is user experience, and what is user experience research? And then a day in the life of a UX research. What do they actually do every day? What does it look like? And is UX research for you? We'll discuss that. UX research, job and careers. Everybody wants to know about the money. We've got bills to pay. And the Q&A at the end, which I'm sure there'll be lots of questions. So let's just continue with that. So what is UX design? What is UX first? User experience refers to how a user interacts with the product, service, or system. So any interaction, the great thing about this is we all know UX. As you are right now using UX on this Zoom chat. You have just used your phone, earlier WhatsApp, that's user experience. You paid a bill. Any interaction with any device is user experience. Now, if it was a good experience, and it's a good user experience, it's good UX. If it was a bad experience, it was bad UX. So nobody is unaware, unless you're living in a cave. Everybody already knows what UX is, because you're living it pretty much every second. Even on the toilet, we're using our phones. So we are living UX all the time. So the user experience is key, but how many times have you had a bad one? And that's what this is all about. The bad experiences you want to avoid or remove. That's really what we're all about. So if we know what user experience is, what is the user experience research? What are we trying to find out? So in the user experience research field, you'll hear it called in many different ways. So some people call it UX research, some people call it UXR, some people call it user research, some people call it UR. It doesn't matter, it all means the same thing. So if you're looking for jobs, you'll find these different terminologies, and they all mean exactly the same thing. The bottom line is, it's user experience research, finding out the pain points, the problems users are having, and discovering them. So this isn't a definition of user experience research. It's a systematic study of specific users and their requirements to gather user insights. So it's a lot to take in. In simple terms, it means that you're studying users. It could be for your mobile phone company. It could be for Airbnb, Uber, or the government. It could be anyone. And they're studying the specific users of that product. And what do they need? What are their requirements? And then gathering those insights and then reporting them back to everybody, to your stakeholders, to your teams. That's all it is. It's finding out the problems and then reporting them. That's what user experience research is. So what are products? Products is, like I said, anything that you're using, your software, websites, apps, any interface in your car, Spotify, anything. It could be your fridge, your kettle. Anything with a design has to have a good user experience. And that design is what you will research if you take this as a career. So what is it like? What is a day in the life of a UX researcher like? So I'm going to explain a little bit about that and tell you how good or bad it is. Well, it's actually very good. It's very fun. It's from all the careers that I know of in IT, this is probably the most engaging one. Unless you like looking at code and looking at a screen all day long with alien letters and zeros and ones. If you like that sort of thing and you're a coding person, then just drop off now. But if you like people and you like IT, but you don't want to be technical, you will work with technical people, but you don't have to be technical, then this is the career for you. But it is a spin-off of UX design, which I'll talk a little bit about in a minute. So we discover user problems. Two types of things UX researchers discover. They discover pain points, which are bad user experiences. And I'm going to show you an example in a minute. And enhancements, how do you improve it further? So you want to fix bugs and problems with a website, but you also want to improve it as well. And UX researchers find out those two things. They want to know why people are upset, why they're angry, why they're frustrated, but also what would make it nicer, what would make it faster, what would make it quicker and easier to use. So there's two areas to UX research. That's what we want to know. Just like this car, what do you want in a car? You want a car to be reliable, it doesn't break down, i.e. you don't want any pain points. but you also want it to improve on the previous model. So the Mark IV model of the Golf to Mark V model of the Golf, you want maybe the seats to be more comfortable, or you want it to be more fuel efficient. So you want to fix the car, you don't want it to break down, and you also want to make it better. So there's two areas, same with an app or a website or a software. You're always looking for those two things. So let's look at this example here. Just carefully look at it. It's a job application form on a website. So how can you improve that? So what would be the pain point in using this? So there's no wrong or right answer. There is no wrong or right answer because this is just your own thoughts and your experience. So if you were to fill in this as a job application, are there any problems you're seeing in this? Just have a look. I'll give you 30 seconds to have a look and think, what would be the pain points in using this? Like, what do you think is not so good? Just thinking to yourself, and you can just write them down to keep it in your mind. And then the second one, what would you improve on this page? How would you make this page better? In which way would you improve it? I'll give you 30 seconds to think about how would you make this page more user-friendly, a better user experience for the user. So I'm applying for a job. This is the form. How would you make it better for me? What would you see? Okay, I'm going to give you some answers. There's no wrong or right answer. This is only research, and that's the beauty of user research. You're listening to the users. You're not dictating to them. So whatever they say is fine. You just note that down. It's your job just to record that. So let's have a look. So this is what I noticed. So a pain point here was, which position are you applying for? It doesn't give me any options. So if I can't remember the job name, I'm buggered. I'm stuck. So it should have a drop down to allow me to select a job. So that's one pain point. Another one is phone number. It has these hashtag signs. But if I don't know what that means, then I'm stuck. What these hashes, what do they mean? I mean, I know they were used in the 70s, but I don't know about now. So again, 2 pain points and enhancement. How can I improve this further? If my first name is a very long Sri Lankan name, for example, how am I going to fit that in here? So it's not designed with users in mind. So the first name, it's very limited. Even if you can type it, it may go further in, but then it'll be hidden and you won't be able to see it. So user experience discovers these kind of problems, and the users will tell you when they use it, and they'll mention all these things, and they'll tell you, I don't like this page because of, and they'll say why, and can you expand a bit further? And they'll go through the whole website or page and what we call a user journey. So, and tell you what the problems are. So our job is to discover user needs. So what are their needs? And share it with everybody. Share it with stakeholders, with your manager, with the developers, with the people that are going to build the solution. Everybody needs to know what you found out. They're always waiting for your report. You're going to tell them, right, this is what we found. We interviewed 5 or 6 people, and this is what they said. And these are the common themes of what they said. So what does it do at the end? User experience builds website like Amazon. And here you'll see all of this was built by user research. They would have tested this color. Should it be gray, pink, blue, yellow? What's the best color? What works? They would have tested, where do people click? Are they going to click here first or here? Is the search bar the right length? Should it be shorter? Should it be longer? All of this is researched. And when they research it, they come up with an amazing product that's easy to use. And here they've grouped things together and they've decided what should these things, how many boxes should they have? What should be the link? What the link should be blue? Should they be small? Should they be big? Should there be buttons like this? Or should it just be text? All of that comes from asking the users and thinking about what they said. And that's your job if you become a UX researcher. And there's a process, there's a process that you go through in that job. And that process is not defined in one particular way. There are many UX research processes. When you go on Google, you'll find many and you'll think, well, which one is the right one? And the answer is none of them are the right one. They're all processes that somebody derived from their experience, but there's no one defined way, which is good for you and me, is it means we can work to our own process. So you can even invent your own process. Obviously, it has to solve the problem, but you use this as a guide and you say, right, I'm going to build empathy with the user. I'm going to understand them, then define the problem. Then we're going to design it. Developers will build it, and then we're going to test it. So this is called the UX research process. But there is no one way of doing it, which is great. But you have to obviously learn that if you're going to take this as a career. So one of the ways that I define it is you discover the problem. What is the pain point? Why are people complaining? Why are people not buying our products? Why are they not checking out on the checkout page? Then you plan the research. Who are we going to interview? How long do we need? Where are we going to interview them, remotely or face-to-face? Then we conduct the interviews. Then we analyze the information, the data we collected, and then we share it with the shareholders. And that's the whole job. That's the whole process. And that's what UX research is all about. It's about doing these 5 things. So who do they work with? UX researchers, they work with these people. They work with UX designers, UI designers, and developers. So who are they? So once you've found out a pain point, let's say the button should be red, not green, then you're going to tell all these 3 people in a meeting and say, guys, this is what we found out. Then the UX designer is going to build that solution. He's going to code it, she's going to code it, develop it in a wireframe, just a sketch, and then pass it on to the UI designer, who's going to add the colors and the final touches, and then pass it down to the developer, who's going to do all the coding. And that's how you give the information that allows them to do their job. Now, I am a UX designer, and I can tell you, UX research is way easier as a job than UX designer. UX designers do a lot more work, a lot more intense amount of work than UX research. Actually, UX designers also have to do UX research on top of their job. So it's a lot easier in a way, more enjoyable. I'd argue that point. But you fit in here. So UX researcher will fit in the discovery of the problem, defining the problem. Then the technical team will ideate, think about your solution, prototype and build it, and then you'll test it once it's built. And that's where you come into this. So what happens next? Let me show you. You give it to, so you moderate these sessions. So once they've built the product, you're going to moderate with different users. You're going to moderate with them and see what they say about your product that you've built. Get the feedback, happy, sad, frustrated, annoyed, whatever it might be, their feelings, and also how they behave with it. And developers will build this product. Once it's finished, it's tested again, then the product is again gone back to developers to improve those niggly points. So it's a bit like building an engine. Fine, you've built it, but then testing it and running that engine and running it for, let's say, 10,000 hours. Anything happens, you work out what that problem was, and you go back to the drawing board and improve it finally before it goes live to the world. So there's a test at the beginning called user testing, and there's a test at the end called usability testing. You test it at the end again to make sure before it goes live to millions of people or hundreds of millions of people, it's fit for purpose and there's no issues. And that's how you get things like Netflix. So all of this layout, the hierarchy here, what label should be, what should this be called? Action and adventure, or action and something else, comedy programs, why not call it comedy films? This is all from user research. You ask the users and they tell you what this should be called. So it's tested with users and then you come up with this design. So they will tell you what they think this should be called. They will also tell you whether this should be laid out this way, vertically or horizontally. And that all comes back from user research. So is UX research right for you? That's for you to think about and decide. But what I'd like to say is all the information that you need, because this is such a new field, it's a spin-off from UX design. It's so new that very few people know about it. It's very, very new. And because of that reason, there's not many courses online. Now, I know you're going to ask this question about what qualifications you need. I'm going to get to that in a minute on Q&A, but what I will say is you do not need a degree. You don't need even if you have a PhD in research, you won't get the job, because what they require is, can you run this process? Can you deliver? They don't care if you're an alien, you have 3 heads, you never went to school. They don't care. If you can do this job, they will hire you. And if you have a PhD and 10 certificates and 3 degrees, they won't hire you if you don't know how to do the job. All of these jobs are related to your skill set. If you can deliver, you will get the job. If you can't deliver, it doesn't matter how many certificates you've got, you will not get the job. It's as simple as that. This is a new era. This isn't the 70s and 80s and 90s where you had to have a degree and then you would get a job. This is about skills. If you can do and deliver, they need you tomorrow, and you can start the research, you'll get the job. Now, it's not an easy job to get, only until you know what you're doing. Once you know what you're doing, there's way more work than there are jobs. And I'll explain that in a minute. So if you like discovering problems and asking people about the experience, like this man is letting this lady use the app and she's going to comment on the app and he's going to take notes. If you like doing things like that, talking to people, or you're a people's person, you've got a personality, you can do icebreakers and have a nice conversation before you start, make them feel comfortable, then UX research is for you. If you like that kind of job. If you like more technical stuff, you want to sit on a laptop all day long, then maybe consider a more technical field. But this job also entails you spending a lot of time on the laptop, but you also have a lot of interviews. Every week you'll be interviewing a lot of people. So you do engage a lot with human beings, and that's part of your job. So if you're a good communicator, then this is the job for you, or you like talking to people. So let's talk about the job and the careers itself. So in terms of salaries around the world, there's 107 countries. $52,000 was the average. That's including developing countries and poor countries. And then the highest average, $100,000, the highest average. So that doesn't mean it's the highest wage. The highest wage is way higher than that. But in the Western world where we're living, most of us are living, you're talking about a decent wage is 100,000. Starting at, so let me just show you. So here are permanent and contract roles. So permanent jobs, 60 to 85,000 pounds. In dollars, you can work nowadays internationally online, $128,000 max, and then $172,000. So about $170,000, about £120,000. Now that's permanent. So you want to do one job, you want to stay with one company, you don't want the hassle of moving every 6 months or a year, then that's for you. If you want a contract where the big money is, then you're talking 470 a day, 500 a day. At the moment, it's 675, up to 675 a day, because there's such a shortage of people. Because imagine a company wants to do research right now, and nobody knows what it is, where they're going to find people. That's why the price has gone up. So it used to be 500. Just recently, as I shared on the WhatsApp group, it's 675, because they just can't find people that know what this is. So if you get in now, you've got a lifetime career of very good earnings, and that's really your call. So what is it like permanently? About 32K would be the minimum you'd get, and that's where some wages end, in some careers. So 32K is like the lowest paid person, like you're just scraping the beginning of your career, and you could do that for 6 months or a year, and I would say just jump to 60, 70 straight away. You wouldn't have to wait, because you still, once you've got experience, you just jump onto the higher wages, or after a year or 2 years, jump onto contracting at 250 a day minimum to £600-700 a day. And that would be, so you start junior, but because of the demand, I think you can jump quite quickly to mid and senior. It wouldn't take too long, depending on your own attitude, the way you work, how determined you are, and also your skill set. So if you've done anything in your life related to people, so a customer service job, anything in local council, any job where you were dealing with people, or market research, marketing, psychology, anything like that, you can add that in your CV, your resume, and that will be related to this career. And that's what will help you get the job. So it's not just about what you've done, but what it is, it's a future-proof, exciting, well-paid career. It is not easy. I repeat, it's not easy when you don't know, but it's easy when you know how. So it's not easy to get your first job, just like anything else in life. If you tell me now to become an engineer, is it going to be easy for me? No. If you tell me to get a job in something I've never done in my life, is it going to be easy? No. But once I've learned it, plain sailing after that. So it's a lot of hard work, maybe 6 months, a year and a half, maybe if you've got a job, maybe 2 years if you're very busy. But once you get there, it's a great career. So I'm not going to pretend it's easy because it's not magic. You know, it's you've got to learn it. You have to watch millions of YouTube videos, read all the blogs, study, live and breathe it. There's no shortcuts in life. There's no escalators. You have to take the stairs.